my good friend, Sam Haymart with Test Driven TV. We're out here on a very windy, cold spring day in Arizona. Brr. But the good news is I'm testing a car that I've been looking forward to driving. That is the 2023 Volkswagen Jetta SEL. So we're going to show it to you inside and out, take it for a drive. Then I'm going to tell you what I really think. The Volkswagen Jetta has been around for some time, and here we have the 7th generation, and this is a near fully loaded SEL. You can go one step up to the GLI. As tested here, we are at just under $30,000, and so you have most of the equipment and features that you're going to be able to get short of going with the high performance model. The styling is familiar, and you have up front the traditional Volkswagen grille and headlights. Here, those are LED headlights, and these are a bit of an upgrade from the base S model. Coming around the corner, 17-inch wheels with some 205/55 R17 tires. And this does have a number of features like the heated mirrors up on the top. We have the sunroof. Now at the rear, something I want to point out, very dear to my heart, is the fact that they've gotten rid of the fake exhaust tips. Something I've always sort of beat up on Volkswagen about because I think it's beneath them as an aesthetic. And so a bit of a cleaned up rear fascia and of course LED taillights at the rear. The interior of the Jetta has always been a place that you would look at the design and say austerity. This Volkswagen owner in past lives will tell you that it's down to business German design. It's very basic. It's not filled with a lot of design innovations that you might find in some of the other brands. Here though, I like the fact that they've added some color, this beautiful volcano brown leather and the trim in here along with the sort of metallic finish you see on the dash and the door panels. It's not wood, it's not metal, it's just sort of a metallic finish looking plastic. It really all looks very good together, and it just adds some life to what is otherwise honestly an austere sort of interior theme in the monotone. Switch gear in here as expected, a very high quality, and because we are in the SEL, a lot of feature content. Now these seats I'm sitting in are leather, they're heated here, and they actually have memory for the driver and a power adjustment. On the passenger side, it's fully manual. I find that these seats are very comfortable, getting my spot that I like to be in very easy, and they're supportive. And while they are firm, they're supportive in a way that it doesn't become uncomfortable over time. And so very happy with these seats. The steering wheel is leather covered, nice switch gear on the steering wheel. It is missing paddle shifters though. I might have expected that in a sporty car like this with German intent. But ahead of me, a very nice digital cockpit display that's now standard here. And it's very easy to read. A little bit on the monotone side. You've got black, white, and red, but it's not full color like you're going to find in some of the other brands out there, but it's down to business. It's part of that down to business theme that Volkswagen has. Center stack has an 8-inch screen in this particular car. Down below is a full layout of controls for the heated seats as well as the HVAC. And then the console. Down here is a very nicely sized bin to lay your phone, and in this case it's got a wireless charger. There's also USB ports there to plug in, a traditional shifter, and this one does have a pull-aside shift gate so you can do some manual shifting, and start button on the console. And back behind here, cup holders and plenty of room for tall cups. Inside the center console is actually quite a bit of storage. I would say you could actually put 2 rectangular sized tissue boxes in here if you put those vertical. A nice big bin. Now the one thing I would say about this interior is there is a bit of hard plastic here and there. While they have soft trimmed it up in all of the right places, when you run your fingers around, we do still have some bargain basement plastics. Above me is a nicely sized sunroof. It has the shade, which is sort of part and parcel with Volkswagen. It's not a completely opaque shade. It is letting a little bit of light through, but it's a nicely sized sunroof nonetheless. One of the first things I noticed sitting in the back seat today is the fact that I have heated seats back here on this trim grade. Yes, heated back seats. That is just a wonderful thing. But in all seriousness, The space that I have here, as you can see, is actually pretty good for this class of sedan. This chair in front of me is set for my height, about 5'8", with my tennis shoes on. I've got about 3 inches of legroom ahead of me. Headroom is pretty good, about 2.5 to 3 inches above my head. And the seating position, while I am low in a sedan, it's not uncomfortable. I've got good side support here. I'm sitting in this seat, not on it. Now, as I look around though, some of the things I like to see in the back seat are missing, and primarily that is vents back here for those warmer days here in Arizona, where I like to have air conditioning blowing on my face. That just doesn't exist back here. Some of the competitors do offer that. Looking at the trunk, you can see it's a nice big cargo space back there, and looking towards the front, you can tell that these seats do fold down in a 60-40 split. Underneath that trunk floor, you will find not only the subwoofer for this audio system, but you'll find a spare tire down there. They've actually been able to put both of those things in. They can chew gum and walk at the same time. This is an interior I'm very happy with on a lot of fronts. From a design standpoint, I appreciate its down to business German style or austerity, depending on how you look at it. And these brown seats with the black really give off a nice visual contrast for me. I do wish that some of the materials in here were of a better quality here and there, but for the most part, this is a very competitive interior. It gets 4 out of 5 stars. The infotainment system here is the near top of the line with Beats Audio, 8-inch touchscreen, and the latest generation of Volkswagen's MIB architecture. The menus are a little bit more on the basic side. It doesn't have some of the drama and the visual graphic gravitas that some of the competitors have out there, like Hyundai or Kia, for example. But it's very easy to navigate, and the way it's laid out is simple. So it doesn't really have that big of a learning curve. Plenty of settings to dig into and get your settings just the way you want them, and a nice backup camera. Not a 360-degree camera at this price, but a good clear backup camera. The Beats audio system has a great sound, 9 speakers, a subwoofer in the trunk, and it's just a system that works very well. It's got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto through the App Connect, wireless, and there's just a number of ways to get what you want. Yes, some of the nav and some of the other features that are cloud-based are subscription required, but this is an excellent system that I like. It gets 5 out of 5 stars. All right, my friends, finally time to take a drive, and I've got the heater on. Very comfortable in here. I'm out on my favorite back road. As you can see, it is absolutely beautiful out here in the spring. Lots of blooming flowers on both sides of the road. This is just absolutely gorgeous. Got purple, pink, yellow. So the Volkswagen Jetta is in its 7th generation, and McPherson struts up front, torsion beam axle at the rear. Now, a lot of times we auto enthusiasts complain about that. It doesn't have a multi-link rear suspension. Now, if you want that bad enough and it means something enough to you to spend up for it, you can do that with the GLI. It has a more sophisticated rear suspension. But here, I will tell you that having owned a number of Volkswagens with the torsion beam axle, Volkswagen does a good job at the torsion beam rear axle. They practically invented it. Now, that is not factually true, but over the decades, they perfected it to not be such a terrible thing. So how does this feel going down the road? Well, it feels German. It's got that nice, taut, well-tuned suspension that's firm yet supple, and the steering has a nice light feel. It's relatively quiet. This car feels solid as a brick. 70-mile-an-hour test. This is 59.2 decibels on my road test, which is about average. But the suspension tuning on here is, well, woo, German. You can toss it into a corner and it gives you very detailed and precise feedback in how this car reacts to what you tell it to do. That's what you want. That's what we spend up for when we get German cars. Only luckily here, the price is right. And so going around town, road crossings, speed humps in the city, I found that this feels very solid and well bolted together, and it never really gets unsettled. Cattle guard, things like that, not a big deal. So I'm very impressed with this chassis. It's fun to drive. It always likes to be thrown into something and ask for more, which I love in a chassis. This chassis gets 5 out of 5 stars, period. So what's under the hood? For 2023, this has a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, 158 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque, and it comes with an 8-speed automatic transmission. And this has a shift gate that allows you to push this over and actually shift it like it's a manual, and it seems to work pretty good. But the question I always like to ask is, how does it go? So I'm going to come to a complete stop. We're out in the middle of nowhere, and go. Ooh. A little bit of tire spin there. And 60. Now, you might have noticed there when I came to a stop, the auto start-stop system kicked in, which is a feature that I've never really liked that much. Luckily, you can turn it off, but it did slow us down on our acceleration there. And of course, you know, that factors in because auto start-stop sucks. Now, this engine is tuned for fuel efficiency, obviously. Power's pretty good, though it's not quite what you're going to get with the GLI. If you want power, that's the model you get. But for a mid-range, mid-size sedan, this is adequate. And the engine does actually have a pretty good power curve. It will give you some fun if you ask for it, you know, and it sounds good. But it does have Volkswagen's version of the Miller cycle, which is called the buttocks cycle. And that tends to give you an engine that's not quite as refined as some of the older VW engines that didn't have it. They used to be smooth like a sewing machine. This isn't quite there. But with this transmission, it does work when you put your foot in it. Driving around town, it behaves pretty well, though the transmission can be a little bit clunky. Now it's rated at 29 city, 40 highway, and 33 mpg combined. In my week with it, I got about 31. So we're pretty close. The efficiency pretty good. So this is a powertrain that I would call adequate, maybe a little bit better than adequate. It'll give you fun when you ask for it. This powertrain, cattle guard. This powertrain gets 4 out of 5 stars. All right, my friends, wrapping it up. I am freezing out here. I want to wrap it up. Let's talk about value. $30,000 for the Volkswagen Jetta SEL. I think that's a pretty good deal. It's about the same money you're going to spend for an equally loaded competitor out there. And you've got the Honda Civic, the Hyundai Elantra, Toyota Corolla, and a number of others that are also quite notable. Here, I think you have a car that may not be the best in some of those categories those other sedans offer up, but it offers something they don't. It offers the German driving experience, and some people want that. I like it. I actually very much appreciate the German driving experience and the feel from behind the wheel, and so that's one of the things that really appeals to me here, even though some of its competitors might offer something different, be it design, be it creature comforts. So I really think you have a good package here. Warranty coverage, it's above average, but not the best in the business. The interior, the quality, all very good. So I put value at 5 out of 5 stars. When you put that in with everything we've already talked about, we're at 4.5 stars for the review. Very good Volkswagen. And you know what else? It goes on my buy list. Yeah, I like this car well enough that if I were buying a mid-size sedan, I would totally buy this. Now, I've got 3 cars on my mid-size sedan buy it list. There's the Honda Civic and the Hyundai Elantra. And just like I said, it would just depend on which one of those things offers what I'm really looking for at the time. I'd have to really make some choices. I can't buy all 3, but it's good enough that I'd buy it. So I do recommend it's definitely worth a look. That said, you can see our latest video right there. Better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel right down there. By the way, stay tuned. Brrr.